我是黑鬼，自杀低，yeah. We need to address these issues for the world to know that this is what is happening and it needs to change. These people are actually taking advantage of Africans living in Africa. And it's so sickening to see that things like this are actually happening on the continent and nobody cares. If you can surf the internet, if you can understand Chinese and you get to see the kind of videos that they upload there, I don't think you will ever want to go to China.
The video you've just heard features a group of 15, maybe more, African children instructed to chant in Chinese. I'm a black devil, my IQ is low. Today, we speak to Chinese journalist Wang Song, ex-China expat Ola Alatishe, and Ghanaian content creator Wadamaya about the Chinese industry that is exploiting children across Africa. Welcome to Black Livity China.
Black Livity China.
Black Livity China. Black Livity China.
Black Livity China.
Black Livity China.
Hello, 大家好, and welcome to another episode of the Black Livity China podcast. I'm your host, Runako Celina, and today we're joined by Ola.
Yes, my name is Ola. I am currently a postgrad law student and also have experience living in China as part of my undergrad, which was in Chinese and business management.
Hi, my name is Wang Song. I work for the BBC. I'm from the data and analysis team. I write for BBC Explainers and for BBC Reality Check.
So this conversation would not be complete, really, if we didn't go to the source, because, like you said, this video industry has only been known within China and amongst the African diaspora in China until Wadamaya publicized what was happening with this one video, and I think that was in 2020.
You understand what these kids are saying? Oh shit, hey gwe. Direct translation for hey gwe means black monsters, and in another form I would say that it's the N-word. I wish you can find these people. I wish the law works in Africa, but even if you talk about it, no one is going to do anything about it.
And he's joined us all the way from Accra today. Wadamaya, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, Runako, and it's a pleasure speaking with you. How are you doing? Longest time.
It has been a long time. It has been a couple of years. How did you find out about this video to start with?
So, a friend of mine sent me the video because you know that I've been talking about how Chinese people mistreat Africans in China and also in Africa. I feel like it's more like an exploitation that no one is addressing it. Yeah. So when my friend sent me the video, listen, I was heartbroken, it's okay to allow adults to insult themselves, but letting kids insult themselves is really disheartening. So I think I was in South Africa that time. I just woke up and I'm like, you know what? I need to add my voice to it. And I think I did it and the video went viral. Yeah.
Was this the first video of this type that you'd seen?
No, not at all. I mean, if you've lived in China before, you will know that it's something that they always do. It's more like bringing kids for them to advertise product and then they sell it in China. And I don't think they're actually paying these kids very well. It's more like I said earlier, it's more like exploitation of kids. And you can do that, but letting the kids insult themselves and sending across the world is crazy, So basically, it's something that they've been doing. It's not a new thing. And I feel like we need to address it so that something like this will be stopped.
Ola, you were in Hangzhou, was it?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything similar? What? Yeah.
Do you know what? Actually, no. I didn't see anything of the sort until I watched a video on YouTube by Wadamaya, and he was just narrating what was going on in the video. African children shouting out things that were very derogatory toward themselves, and they had no idea about it. And I only just saw that last year. My time in China, I didn't see any of those kind of things, but when I did see it, I was very shocked and appalled at who was requesting these children to say these things about themselves, call themselves monsters. Who is the audience for these kind of things? Who are the adults who allowed for this to happen? That was all just like running through my mind. Like, is this a common thing? I had so many questions, and I was disappointed, to be honest. I was very disappointed.
What made you make the video about it? You saw it, you were frustrated. What made you say the things that you did in that video? Because it was very strong.
I was mad. I was frustrated. I was very angry as an African. Because, listen, these are kids. These are innocent kids. That was actually made me say whatever I said. I think I even cursed in that video. That I didn't even care, like cursing in a video, because I was so mad at why would you allow kids to insult themselves and the Black people of the world? It doesn't make sense. And, if you don't understand Chinese, you definitely don't understand what they were saying. But I speak and understand Chinese, so I felt like I was the right person to speak against it, since I had a platform, just to share the word across the world that, these people are actually taking advantage of Africans living in Africa.
And how did people react to your video when it came out? What did people think?
I think a lot of people couldn't believe that even the translation that I did was correct, because people like, how on earth will an adult allow kids to insult themselves? So people were, blown away that this is not true. So I had to let them know that, this is actually what is happening in Africa. Chinese people are actually taking advantage of so many kids, making money out of them and exploiting them. I'm not saying every Chinese person, but the ones that are doing this live broadcasting in Africa, this is basically what they are doing. And I think a lot of people were mad, and they had to share the video so that the word will reach a lot of people.
That particular video that you're talking about, they use the word heigui, which have you come across the word before? Like,
I've been called that.
Wow.
I didn't know what it meant at the time, though.
What was the context?
Black ghost. I'm like, whatever, And
how?
I
Why?
Video, I was just walking. I was in the city centre, and it was an older man that called me that, and I didn't know what that meant at the time. I thought it just literally meant black ghost, and I was like, I'm definitely not a ghost. I'm very real. Thank you very much. But it wasn't until when I watched Maya's video that I saw the real meaning of that. And I was like, oh, damn. Yeah. That's what they were saying.
I think not the context, or not the historical context of the word, but more the intention behind it. Yeah. Some people compare that to the N-word, because there's a certain venom when you say that to someone. It's not a term of endearment. Obviously, when you want to say something bad about someone, you're going to go for something that you think is a negative quality. So calling someone, hey, black, ghost, you clearly think black is a derogatory thing. It's a bad thing, Huang Yuan, I really wanted to kind of ask you about just terms like this and content like this. Why do you think that it exists or has an audience, if it even does?
Well, this can be traced back to quite a long time ago. So in the beginning, Chinese people call all the foreigners as ghosts. So by that I meant like maybe 100, 200 years ago. So when they first called people as gui lao, or like ghost people, they didn't really mean to be offensive. They didn't really have put much like the negative images onto it, but the word directly like slowly developed into something equal to like an word. And the horrible thing is like some people, like even here, like people may use it and may not even actually know how hurtful it could be to the people who listen to it. And sometimes people use the word for just they think that's the right way to call it. They just think that's how they should be called. So that's the same happening in China for many, especially the elder generation. They think that's the right way to call it, but actually it's not. And the horrible thing is no one really have told them that's offensive. You should stop using the word. Many of them, of course, are using it deliberately to hurt people. They probably have some xenophobia feelings. They probably actually hold a very aggressive and a very negative opinion about like black people. I do hope that don't happen again, but I really feel sorry when I heard your experience.
Girl, it's all good, man. You know, I don't even know who that guy was. I just heard it and I was like, well, headphones in.
I know.
You know?
Yeah. What can you do?
What else can I do?
What can you do, right? How did Africans in China react to your video? Because so few people within the diaspora there have a voice. So how was the reaction from them?
Can I tell you something? That if I even lived in China that time when I did that video, I couldn't have done that video. You know, right? So many Africans living in China would love to speak up, but they are scared of what is going to happen to them. I remember when I was based in China, when I started making such videos, I was scared, but I had to speak up. At the end of the day, I felt like for me to speak out, I need to leave China. And that's why I left. So I was able to like bring out whatever that was happening from Africa, knowing that I'm safe in Africa. So talking about how Africans in China were thinking, trust me, no one dared to speak out, but they rather like share the video. Oh, Wadamaya said this, and they believe that Wadamaya is not in town, so which is cool. Everyone was frustrated, everyone was mad, but they can't do anything about it. The only thing they can do is to share across all social media platforms by sharing Wadamaya's video. That's it. I mean, that is the situation in China, and I just hope we can address this thing so that the world will know that this is what is happening. I mean, I love China. I'm a big fan of China. I grew up in China. I know everything that I know. I know everything that I know because of China, but I think things like this happening in China sometimes makes me feel like, can I even go back to the country that I love? You know, it's just sad, you know.
What would you say to people who say, oh, it's just one video, doesn't matter, let it go, forget about it?
It's not one video. It's millions of videos that we just came across one of them. If you go to Chinese social media, I don't know if your audience really know that Chinese people have no access to Facebook, YouTube, and all of that. They have their own platforms, yeah? If you can surf the internet, if you can understand Chinese and you get to see the kind of videos that they upload there, I don't think you will ever want to go to China. You know, so this is not just one video. It's millions of videos that one of them just came out, yeah? And I believe that since one of them has managed to come out, we need to address these issues for the world to know that this is what is happening and it needs to change. Even if we have to stop it, we need to find a way to stop it because this have effect on Africans living in China.
Exactly. The way that we're treated in the streets is directly related to that.
The way, because I have lived there, so I know what I'm saying. It's not like somebody's making this up. The way Africans are treated in China is based on the videos that they are being fed on their Chinese social media platforms. That's it. As simple as that.
So for our listeners who really have entered this discussion with no prior knowledge to this industry, which is so different, isn't it? I personally feel like it couldn't exist anywhere else in the world. Let's try and give some context. The industry kind of originated possibly even as early as 2015. And these videos always follow a similar format. You have children holding a blackboard. On the blackboard is normally written some Chinese characters. Most of the times it's a birthday greeting, things that on the surface are not that strange. And off screen, you have someone shouting the words, what they're actually saying to the children, and they repeat back to them. And so there's someone behind the screen with a smartphone recording these videos. These videos are made for sale a lot of the time, and sometimes just for promotion on social media. But how does it actually work from the person on the ground across the continent? How do they sell them and reach people back in China?
So you often find it as like a cross-nation industry, and then you can have, so basically what you order as a customer is a personalized video, and it can help you to express your birthday wishes or even proposals, or even for some companies as commercials. And how it operates is you have presumably one agent in China and one agent in Africa, or you just need one person to handle the business, and you have a filmmaker on the field and to organizing those children children to say exactly the words the customer wants the children to say. So you can purchase this kind of services initially in Taobao, which is an e-commerce platform. And now with Taobao removing some of the shops, you can order the services on WeChat, which is a messaging app, and sometimes you can even find on Instagram or anywhere else on social media platforms.
What do you think motivates people to buy these videos in the first place?
In the first place, it's probably just something very interesting, something very fun to have. Imagine a group of children from a different country that is different from your own culture saying happy birthday to you, sending you great wishes, or helping your boyfriend to propose to you. It's very interesting to see and very appealing. And later on, it developed into some kind of commercial I saw for some video games. And that is a great way of advertising your products. So you are basically sending the image, sending the information to your customers that, look, my product is universal, my product is international. We have this kind of power in Africa countries. We have roots in Africa countries. Everybody else is using my product, so why don't you buy it? And now it develops into some fans even ordering it to the celebrities that they like as a birthday wish gifts, or use it in the celebrities and concerts or things to show the power, show how much people love this celebrity.
What I find the most interesting is just how the trade has kind of grown, because as you said, I remember in 2017, I was still in Beijing. There was that huge controversy around the industry then, and even foreign media picked up that this thing exists. What happened in 2017 in this industry then? Because there were suddenly articles focusing on it. What happened to kind of bring it into focus?
So back then, it's definitely not everybody are pleased to see this kind of videos. There were controversies and there are complaints filed to Taobao, the platform, to see those kind of shops, to remind them or warn them of this kind of shops, this kind of business operating. So Taobao has taken down some of the shops, saying it has broken their regulations and against their rules.
So when this happened, it seemed as though the videos all went offline, right? And so lots of people presumed that means this is the end of this industry. These children are no longer holding placards in the middle of the day when you would presume they'd be at school or elsewhere. It's just done. But what happened instead is just as what you've said. They moved to other platforms to start selling them, including WeChat, which is interesting because obviously WeChat has every function imaginable. It's like a super app. I think it's amazing. But you can buy and sell and you know, you can even have mini apps within the program where you can put items for sale and you don't have to speak to anyone directly. You can just pay via that service.
You do need to give it a bit of the background. It was the time loads of money flowed from China to Africa, and it was also the time, if you remember, one of China's best blockbuster movie, The Wolf Warrior 2, being released. It really suits the domestic tone. It suits people's perspective of what China is doing, which is helping Africa, which is also used by those commercials. They are advertising this service as charitable, as the money, part of the money will go to children filmed it, to help them to go to school, to help them. This is also pleasing to the customers who buying this kind of personalized videos. They think they are doing something great to help the local people.
At that point, obviously we're in 2022 now. So how did the industry survive beyond 2017 when there was so much controversy back then?
It's very hard to say, but it's like all the kind of dodgy industries. Once you believe it has been removed or taken down by the authority, it find another way out. And so now it's probably going to be hard to directly search them and it will come up. But if you do go deeper, maybe use different kind of words combinations or like recommended by a friend, you can still find their accounts on WeChat with quite an encrypted messaging app. And and also it survived in a way that people believing what they are doing now is morally fine and is legal, because what happened back then in 2017 or 2018, many of those illegal shops have been taken down. So what's left now must have been okayed. And so that's the general conception, I believe.
There are people with really high profiles, using these videos.
Yeah.
I've seen internet companies, companies that I used to order food from, like using these videos to promote their stuff. And even just last year, quite a big celebrity, his name in Chinese is Xue Zhitian, or Joker in English is what his nickname is, using these videos in his concerts. So again, it seems like there's an information mismatch, because in some media who promoted and kind of spoke about this industry back in 2017, presumed it disappeared.
Yeah. And also the Hong Kong comedian I mentioned, he is very, very famous, and it's not he ordered it, his fans ordered it for him as a birthday gift. And you see this kind of things ongoing without people knowing actually what's happening behind. They thought it's some terrible thing. They thought it's completely okay, assuming the parents of those children are aware of it or give consent. But what they don't know is very dark behind the curtain. So that kind of lacking the information helped the stimulated the growth of this industry in the wrong way.
I don't know if you've seen or heard about this also. Besides just advertising these videos to Chinese consumers, there's been a slight shift towards other countries across Asia as well.
Yeah, and I saw this kind of services existing in Japanese language pages, which is a bit shocking.
Yeah.
And also I know a celebrity in Hong Kong, a stand-up comedian, he has received this kind of birthday wishes from African children back in 2018, and that is outside mainland China already. So it's definitely spreading around, but not in a way we want.
Right.
Such a bizarre idea to even come up with. I'm going to go to Africa.
All right.
Get a whole bunch of students as young as 10 out of their school so they can hold a placard saying nonsense, things that they don't even understand. I think the word bizarre just keeps coming to mind.
Yeah.
It's
funny because you saying that the account that first posted this video on social media, on Weibo, it is an account specifically directed towards jokes about Black people. Like that's its sole purpose, is just to deride Black people. And it's not the biggest account, and there's no suggestion that everyone believes these things, but its existence, it's like the fact that it can exist and post some really horrific things.
Yeah.
What do people think about these videos, and amongst Chinese netizens? Are people picking them up? Are they enjoying these videos, or are people questioning them?
I think you definitely have different opinions. There are well-educated people questioning whether it's moral, questioning whether it's okay to using children in commercials like this. But at the same time, you also have this kind of wide audience. They don't really. It's a bit like lack of the sensitivity, lack of understanding. They generally don't think that is a problem. And that's not surprising for me, because if you actually think about what kind of services you can purchase on Taobao, for example, you can even purchase an actor to talk with you before nighttime. So I'm like, that's not too strange for them as well. So even though that's all sorts of videos are very shocking and depressing, but for many of the customers and audiences watching them, they probably don't think that's a huge problem.
I'm just curious to know who's orchestrating all of this. Who came up with the idea?
Yeah, it's one of those things, as I kind of see it, that started quite innocently, if you can even say that, because I think it's already problematic going to any country that is not your own and going to any children that are not your own and sticking a camera in their face, right? But I have seen that back in 2015, when there was an explosion in Tianjin, children at the time, there was some Chinese nationals in Zambia, and children were asked to hold a placard saying "Tianjin 加油," like just encouraging, you know, the people of Tianjin in that kind of right. And in my mind's eye, there was no evil or exploitative intent behind that. But as so often happens on social media, these videos go viral and people see them and start to think, oh, I want one, I want one, I want one. And the next thing you know, it becomes an industry, and people who are, maybe it's a bit too kind to say business minded, think there's an opportunity here.
I think it's you can say there's like a coincidence, but I don't think there is like a pure coincidence with why it has happened. Because if you actually look back, that's the peak time when you can also see from the Chinese propaganda, the news outlets everywhere, Africa is kind of like the center of the international news, the affairs where people focusing on. And also in that year, 2017, China has released its first blockbuster movie, not first, but definitely one of the best, Wolf Warrior 2.
Yeah.
And that's the story setting in Africa. And the image of China, Chinese people are portrayed as even saviors or the heroes against the West and just saving African people. I mean, the whole concept is, for us, probably a bit too much. And it's a bit propaganda-ish, but not for the domestic audience. So I'm not too surprised at the year people are ordering this kind of services. They wanted to hear African people saying in Mandarin, saying how great the country is, or how they wanted to be saved, or even some very ridiculous terms. So I think there is also that kind of propaganda level and the patriotic of how to please your customers or your audience. So I think it's not pure coincidence.
Are people making money off of this? Is this a lucrative business to get into?
These videos I've seen, I don't know what kind of prices you've seen on them, but I've seen videos for sale for as much as 200 kwai. So it seems like they have, so that's like around what?
That's £20.
£20.
That's really bad.
£20, yeah. So they can range in price.
Even cheaper.
Yeah, I was saying even cheaper price for that.
Yeah, they range in prices. So it seems like, and also there's different types of videos too, right? So this industry, I wish for people listening, they could see just how massive it is and how different variants there are. So you've got videos of children, and some of those, like you said, go for, what's the lowest price that you've seen?
It's like, I think the lowest one I saw a few years ago was like 10. 10. It's like equivalent to like £1 or ish, like £1 or £1.50.
Yeah,
it's like very, very low price, and you almost feel they are manipulating the children, manipulating those people.
£1.50. What do you really think? So that's not even a charitable thing. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to give to charity, you really wanted to help people, you wouldn't be giving £1.50.
right. Like,
you know, that's
kind of,
especially if you're sending it abroad, right?
and
because they think the cost is low, you know. They think we just need a phone, we just need a person standing there, say a few words. How much would that cost? But they didn't understand it's actually called, you can almost call it child labor in some countries. It's also a misconcept of how economically disadvantaged some people, some places in Africa like are currently, and because people still have this kind of very outdated idea of how economically disadvantaged some people in Africa are.
Exactly.
And they believe even for a few dollars that will be hugely helping for those children, which is also, you know, like the mismatching of the information. There is the information.
That point, I think, is really crucial to the existence of the industry because it relies on ignorance on all levels. The children who participate seem to have no idea of what they're saying, especially in this video, you know, 我是黑鬼，智商低. There's no way they would say this if they understood what they were saying. And then ignorance also on the part of some of the people who are paying for these videos. Where do you think they get this idea that the videos are charitable or the children are gaining?
The thing is, it comes from like those commercials, not commercials, like those shop owners on Taobao platform. They advertised it as part of the income will go to the children who filmed it. So that's how people think that is doable, that is acceptable. And they also picked up saying that, oh, some of the incomes will go to the children who will be funded to like those children or charitable things. So that's how people believed it's all legal, it's all moral, which actually it wasn't.
Right.
I just think of it, how would a lot of these Chinese people who are in support of it, how would they feel if Nigerian, man, woman went to some of their villages, let's say in Kunming, or it's not a village, but just a place in Kunming, and got a whole bunch of Chinese students out of their classes, told them to hold a placard in Igbo or Yoruba, do you understand? And told them to say things that were very derogatory, not only to themselves, but their people as well. I just think it's so absurd. And it would be on the people like myself who's seeing these things, my people who are going to China and exploiting these kids, to say, yo, you need to stop that.
Right.
Don't care if the money's going to these kids. There's enough other ways for them to generate income and all these kind of things so they can better their future. And if you're saying the money's going to these kids, I want to see receipts. Right. I want to see where the money is going.
Prove it.
Yeah. So this whole thing, like, I feel like everybody's to blame.
Yeah.
I feel like the people who are requesting these things, the shops, the businesses, the people behind the camera. I think their teachers have failed them. I think when you put it in that context as well, like, no English person would allow for a foreigner to come in and take their kids out of Our Ladies, or I went to Our Ladies and Our Ladies to go and do those kind of things. We have to sometimes reframe the situation, the question, everything, for us to really understand that this is on every kind of level. It's immoral. It's wrong.
Definitely.
The thing is, there's like an added layer of, and it kind of came back to what you were saying, Ola, as well, about, there's a power imbalance basically, because we have adults, so we have the age factor. But also, I noticed one theme in all of these videos is it seems to be in rural areas. It seems to be in areas that perhaps the children have never seen some of the equipment that the people are coming into the villages with. And also, there's an assumption sometimes of foreigners with wealth, especially foreigners of a lighter complexion,
I've lived in Uganda for a bit, and beautiful country, and people as well. One thing I did notice, and it's not just specific to that country, I'm sure it happens in other places as well, is once you're a foreigner or Muzungu, you have money.
Right.
You have money, you hear these kind of things, and Muzungu, give me money, or Muzungu, you have money, that kind of thing. And you're like, this is so interesting how the same, person who was of a lighter complexion will go to the main city, Kampala, nobody gives a,
Yeah.
But once they're in the more rural areas, attention is on them.
Yeah.
And I guess the same was with our experiences in China as well,
Right.
You go to the more rural areas in certain parts of Zhejiang, and everybody is looking at you. It's a different feel, it's a different vibe, it's a different attitude. And you're more trusting for some reason of foreigners when you're in those particular areas. Somebody comes in and says, oh, we want to video you. Oh, maybe you're coming to help us. That
that's
kind
the
of
presumption. That's what, that's what I think. People just think that they're going to receive help, potentially. And, if people on the Chinese side also think that they're giving help, it's not a stretch to believe that people locally might be thinking the same, that they're getting that. When in reality, that the children are not getting help from people. And
do you know why I say £1.50 is not enough? Because I remember back in the day, we used to buy clothes from Primark, send it back to some people back home. Do you know what they started to say? What the hell is this? They're like atmosphere.
I'm like, I want this. Where's the brand name?
Where's the brand name?
Like, but the thing is, but that's actually quite important though, because it's almost anything is good enough for the attitude that this will give across to people who have never interacted with these children, their families, their communities, their countries at large, is, well, you know, we can give them anything is good enough.
Right.
And also, I think the most problematic thing, right, when I was studying, we would have this class and we would always be asked to think about what's the image of Africa or Africanness. And I hate to say Africa because obviously we're talking about a continent, but realistically, in the minds of most people, it's never, oh, 这个国家, this country. It's 非洲. It's just one big mass, right? And it's got to the point where I can search for the words for Africa, the characters of Africa, and some of the first accounts that pop up are the accounts that make this content. And in my head, I'm thinking, if I've never engaged with an African person from this continent, if I've never been there, I've never traveled, period, what will this make me think this continent and these people represent? And then, as Africans, people of African descent who've lived in China, what will that mean for my experience on the street when they meet me? Do you know what I mean? Because you must have had those experiences before. You know people. Tell us
experiences. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, where do I even start? You know, it got to a point where, okay, so the whole Ebola thing was out when I was there. And like I was saying before we, you know, started talking about this, they thought I was from the epicenter. They thought I was from the jungle where it came from. I think it came from the jungle, right? It came from the jungle. Yeah, they thought I was from there. As in the tree, wherever, yeah, they thought I was from there. So, you know, I'd walk in and I probably would watch the news and everything. And it was of Africans, you know, my own people looking very desperate and whatnot. And I'm coming in as I am. And it's they would treat me like that,
right?
From, like what they'd seen,
right?
And you know, and it's so funny because you see the disparity and the differences when you're with somebody who's of European descent. My friends who were European got treated better than I did. When I went out on my own, I got treated far worse. When I went out with them, it's ni hao. I'm like, I came here yesterday by myself. You did not say this. You were not greeting me like this. You know? Yeah. It was a lot. Like the propaganda, the Ebola, people didn't want to sit next to me on the bus. And like I was saying to Wang Yuan, like I came to China 6 years prior to my, you know, the second time I went, and it was a different vibe entirely.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
You know, and that was my dream to go back, and I finally went back, and everything had changed. The propaganda, I guess what's also been a part to play is these videos.
Absolutely.
You know. Yeah. People started treating me worse, you know? Yeah. It was Feijoren, Hayden, you know. It got to a point where I started to have to walk around with my headphones in. When it was sunny, whether it wasn't sunny, sunglasses as well, because I didn't want to see the flashes. Yeah. People pointing at me and all these kind of things. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad at that point. But, it's not everyone. We thank God.
I know, right? Right.
Literally, it wasn't everyone.
Because, yeah.
And I feel like the people that I interacted with would be the same people that would see these videos of these young children being pulled out of school and being made to curse themselves, really and truly. They would be so appalled by that. You know, some of them have little kids of their own. Yeah. You know, and they're teaching their kids to not think like the mainstream Chinese idea of what it, you know, towards Africans. And I don't know if I've got time to talk about one of the last experiences that I had a week before I left China, but the whole time I had, you know, every now and again, kids coming up to me. They would laugh. They'd be scared. I'm like, listen, I'm brown skinned. There's nothing wrong with this, you know? What are you screaming for?
And it's like, where does that come from? Where does that
Right.
idea come from?
So, I was in H&M in near Shihu in Zhejiang, in Hangzhou.
Yeah.
And these two girls came up to me. They were no more than 5 years old. And they're like, ha ha, nigga, Marian. And I'm like, oh, let me go and cry somewhere. Went out. And then as I'm going out, I hear the mother call them like, how dare you?
Wow.
Just bullying. No, this is not polite.
Mhm.
You know, she's
This is what
come
we
from a
need.
very far place, you know, and you don't know where she's come from. You're supposed to treat her with respect, blah, blah, blah. She was like literally going in on these kids. I come back later, they're still there. All of a sudden it's, hello, hi,
Right.
ni hao.
Do you see the difference?
Yeah, the power of education.
Exactly.
Power of education.
Yeah.
But my question to you guys is, like, where does the responsibility lie? Because my thing is this, right? Parents and individuals, if they also received an education which told you black is bad, they won't be able to educate something that they don't know themselves.
Yeah.
But the government, and this is the blurry line, because the responsibility is the individual, yes. But if you know as a nation you are having increasing relations with countries, diverse countries where there are Africans, there are Asians, there are darker skinned people, there are people who look different, full stop. I feel as though there has to be some kind of nationwide education to encourage people to open and broaden their minds beyond politics, you know, because there are real exchanges happening on the ground, but it would really benefit from this education. So my question to you guys is, where does the responsibility lie? Is it an individual thing? Is it both? Is it, or what?
For me, it's much bigger, much broader. Like you said, it's not just for individuals. It's the whole country, the whole nation. You need to see actual people posting their daily life instead of you just saw from the news. I'm not saying the news is wrong, but we as journalists, we know the fact that a lot of the times we pick up the news which is sending a quite negative information.
Right.
Something happened in some country which a lot of times isn't pleasant. So you do need to see a balance of information.
Absolutely.
You do need to give people a balance of information, and also when it comes to like the mass media, it's like culture, like movies, like TV series, like those kind of like mass media. You don't just give them one stereotype of portray. I think you are agreeing with me, Olga.
Yes. Yo, every time I tell people, oh, 我是英国人, like they're like, 这是不可能吧? Like,
英国有黑人吗？真的吗？
真的吗？
不可能。
这是不可能。
不行。
And then you ask them, why do you think that? Have you been to England? No, but I watched Sherlock Holmes. Basically, what we just said in Chinese was, every now and again, I'd say, oh, I'm from England. And the Chinese person would say, a Chinese man would say, oh, this is impossible. 就是不可能吧? And then I'd ask, oh, have you been to England before? London specifically. And they'd say, no, but I watched Sherlock Holmes. And it's like, that's your reference.
Right.
That's the danger of a single story. You know, Chimamanda there, you know. But it's crazy. Like, for me, I feel like, so why I say Kunming, right? Let me tell you something. So the first week that I got to Hangzhou, and I was by Shihu, like this was in September, instead of people looking at the lake, which they came for, they started looking at me and my friends.
I've had that experience.
So one of the street sweepers, he says, he was laughing his head off. Ah, these, you know, 就是黑人。他们好像那个云南人。
Oh, right, yeah.
Like he was like,
because they're darker.
Yeah, you guys look like you're from Yunnan. I said, where the hell is Yunnan? Where the hell is Kunming? I'm going there. That's where my people are. So I go, and yes, you have Chinese people who are brown skinned. As in, one was looking at me. I was like, "Yo, bro, how you doing?" You know, like, he was staring at me on the bus. I was like, if I didn't know, like, I don't think even Chinese people understand each other's cultures.
Yeah.
And the diversity in the country itself.
Your hair, your hair. I remember seeing, I don't know if she was, I don't know where exactly she was from in China. I don't know if she was Miao. I don't know what ethnic group she was, but it became a thing where people stopped looking at me and were looking at her. Her hair was exactly like yours.
Right.
She's Chinese.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Right.
So once China starts to open up about or understand the diversity that they have and see that as a strength, you know, not everybody's Han Chinese. And even those Han Chinese are mixed with other things as well, you know. Understand the diversity that they have and the beauty in that. They can see beauty in everything else then. You know, that's my idea, you know, so, because they have it. They have everything, you know, and that's why I love China and in that respect, but I don't feel like, I know they're not tapping into that. If anything, they're cracking down on anything that's divergent, you know, not understanding that that's where the gold is. That's where the real, I don't know what the word is. That's where the real essence, you know, of it is. And they can look upon these kids and understand that what they're doing to them is wrong, you know. That's how I see everything playing out, you know.
If we were able to sit down and speak with the person who made this particular video, what would you want me to tell him or say to them?
First of all, tell him that the amount of money that he's making cannot correct the distortion of the image of Africans living in China. So he needs to stop it. You know, I mean, I don't know if you get me right. The amount of money he's making out of these videos, cannot correct the distortion of Africans, the image of Africans living in China. If you live in China, you realize that people treat you based on what they saw in a video. That's why I'm saying that the African in China will never be respected, knowing that things like this are still going on. It's really sad, and I feel like something needs to be done, you know, about it. And if you have taken the initiative to solve it, that's amazing. I think I'll just give you a round of applause.
I think it starts from the people who spoke about this from the very beginning, which there's no one who's been more vocal about, you know, things affecting Africans in China and Africans at home relating to China than you know? So credit where credit's due from the beginning.
I've been vocal about this for so long, but I feel like I have no support. I mean, no one is supporting me. And at the end of the day, I'm not a guy who always complains about a problem. I always want to find solutions. Like when I was based in China, people were telling me about how they would never visit Africa. I told myself, you know what? I have to go back home and promote Africa so that I can attract more people coming to Africa, because I just wanted the problems to be solved. And that's why I came back here to start my movement called Africa to the World, right? But now I used to talk about China, but at the end of the day, nothing is done.
What do you hope happens to this industry now?
It's sad. Personally, I didn't want to talk about these things anymore, because even if you do this documentary, at the end of the day, no major action will be taken by African leaders or Africans in power. They don't really care, you know. So I feel like it's not even safe for a content creator like me to add my voice to things that are happening on the continent. For me, all I can do is to highlight it. But the people that are in power that needs to stop this don't care. And that is the problem. So if you ask me how we're going to eradicate this, it's going to be hard for me to answer, because you know, China has put a system in place that you can't just stay in China and say negative stuff about China, right? Because you know that as soon as you start, the law will come for you. But in Africa, you can do whatever you want and no one cares. So for me, I believe that nothing is going to happen. You're just going to talk, share the video, and that's it.
I just think it's more teaching education, but education in a way that is encouraging empathy, more feeling, you know. It's a different way of teaching, it's a different way of education, but I feel like our time, 2022 and beyond, needs that more than ever.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think the answer lies.
Yeah.
It's for discussions like this. It's to bring more awareness. It's to actually act, and not just be bystanders and just be like, oh, nothing will change. I don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, because if we really believe nothing will change, I don't think me and you would be here.
Absolutely. What's the point? Yeah.
We wouldn't be here.
What's the point? Just let it happen.
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah, that's definitely the direction I feel like we should steer towards.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And not avoiding like the difficult questions, because I think conversations around race everywhere, you know, you try and raise race in some buildings here in the UK, which has historically had such a long time to deal with it, and it's still that awkwardness. And like, to me, that's almost a bit comforting when I think of the situation with China, because we don't have that historical baggage as people of African descent. So that it should be a lot easier for us to unpack. It just takes a bit of honest discussion.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if like, because we speak about, especially on like the global political stage, about brotherhood, and you know, Africa and China with brothers, and the Caribbean as well, you know, like it's this solidarity, but it has to be reflected on the human level, on the ground as well, and then we can make steps forward. Because if it's just those big statements with politicians in suits, dude, we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
Yeah. I think Wadamaya said it best. Many of us feel like we grew up there, even if we just spent a year or 7 or however many he was there as well. You know, there is a level of, is intimacy the right word? That sounds a bit weird, but you know what I mean.
The connection.
Exactly. Right. To the country and the people who are sometimes the most vocal supporters of us. So
I cried a few times on the streets, man, and people were shocked.
Oh, no.
Oh,
People were shocked.
They
so
were
many
like,
times.
are you crying?
Yeah.
Are you crying?
Or, okay, do you know what is the funniest things? And I guess this happened to everywhere, because I've had it in the UK. Like when I grew up in a very like white area, no brown people, no one basically. And kids would be like, oh, but you bleed red. And things like that. And that's happened to me in China too. Yeah. Your tears are the same as ours. And it's like that realization that actually we're all kind of just human, you know?
Yeah.
But it's not exclusive to China, which is the funny thing.
No.
Places here, which, you know, the same stories. I was thinking, as a close, seeing as we've been talking about cameras and media and stuff, where's the funniest or like the strangest time that someone has tried to take a picture in China?
Do you know, I've got like a photo album of people taking pictures of me.
Me too. I think everyone has that. Everyone must have that. I've got it.
Yeah, she's English. She was like, all you just need to do is take a picture of them as well.
Yeah.
Said, what?
And make sure the flash is on, so everyone gets shamed. If I'm going to be embarrassed that you're taking my picture, you too, you're going to be embarrassed. We'll all be embarrassed looking stupid.
That's good.
That's a good idea. I turned my flash off because I was like, listen, you're embarrassing me. I'm not really there yet. I haven't upgraded.
Listen, it needs to be done.
But yeah, I think the strangest place, maybe. No, that wasn't that strange. Train station.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to do something like toilet. That's strange enough.
I was trying to think. Like, when I was in the toilet, no, I was just literally with my friend. We're just like waiting, and then all of a sudden a flash. I look up. I'm like, what the hell is that?
What's going on?
And then she comes back again and a flash again.
Oh my god, that's a bit too much.
That's a bit cheeky. That's it. Like
I was about to fall asleep. Oh no. I've actually got a picture. I've actually got those 2 pervs. Oh my gosh,
Oh no. Explain.
Yeah, okay, so we were on the bus. We were in Beijing, and we were going to one part of the Great Wall. Like everything, like I've forgotten the names and everything.
Yeah.
But she was sleeping. I was sleeping, and she was deep in her sleep. And I see like a flash. I'm thinking it's because I'm by the window. I'm thinking it's the curtains and we're driving really fast. And then I see it on this side as well, and I'm like, what's going on? Open my eyes. There's 2 guys like this.
Oh my god.
And then
you see
further at near where the driver was, there's this. We see this. Somebody doing that.
Oh my god.
Because we're at the back. It was
so bizarre.
Yeah.
I was like,
No, I need to see this. I need to see this. Do you know what though? It's like, hey, if you've enjoyed this episode, we think you'll love the documentary that inspired it, Racism for Sale. You can watch it on the YouTube channel for BBC Africa. Don't forget to use the hashtag BBCAfricaEye to join the conversation.